Hi guys, and I'm Retro Critic here. And today, I'm talking about SpongeBob Squarepants. That's right. Today I'm going to review and talk about SpongeBob Squarepants. Which, SpongeBob Squarepants was a show that I grew up watching. I think it was one of the first shows I grew up watching, or at least it was definitely a show that I saw when it literally came out. I was like, I think probably 2 or 3 when the first... Yeah, I was probably 2 or 3 years old when the show first came out, or at least started to air. And I gotta tell you, this was like kind of my generation. This is kind of like my generation's show, kinda. But, well, as you see, we'll over that. But, like, look, SpongeBob Squarepants, I mean, oh my god, it's like one of the funniest shows ever. And it's like one of the first Nickelodeon shows I grew up watching. It's a show I definitely saw when it first came out. It's kind of one of my favorite Nickelodeon show that I grew up watching. One of the first Nickelodeon shows I saw I grew up watching. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows, before Nickelodeon went to shit, And I saw this show when it first came out, and I loved it, and I came attached to it. One of my favorite shows ever. And today I'm going to review and talk about SpongeBob Squarepants. In this video, I'm going to give my thoughts and my feelings. And in this video, I'm going to give my thoughts on SpongeBob Squarepants. This show is amazing. This show, it was created by Steven Hillenburg. The series was created by Steven Hillenburg. He was a marine expert. He was a biochemic marine expert. He was a really interesting guy. In real life, he was a really interesting guy, and he actually wanted to educate young kids. He wanted to share his knowledge of the oceanic kind of creatures. He wanted to share his knowledge of the ocean, Atlantic, the sea, of the water. So it was really nice. He wanted to share his knowledge and turn it into, like, kind of educate, inform people about he basically wanted to have younger kids and families to learn about the ocean, but he also wanted to make a comedy show. He wanted to make a really hilarious comedy that older kids and adults can enjoy at the same time, and it was beautiful, and it was such a really endearing but just nice and kind of frankly awesome concept for a show, and that's kind of how it came to be. I think he had the idea around 1997, and then I think he actually draw like a storyboard, or like I think he draw like art sketches for SpongeBob in 1998, and then the series launched in like probably early or mid like 1999, and the pilot came out in 1999. Yeah, some say 1998, but it really came out. But it mostly started in 1999, and the series kind of came in the first season of SpongeBob came out around 1999 through 2000. Because what's interesting is Steven Hillenburg, he came up with the idea of SpongeBob, or some kind of SpongeBob, his concept of his SpongeBob character in like 1997, and then he kind of drew a storyboard sketch and drew like concept art for his SpongeBob character in like 1998, and then the pilot came out in 1999. I think the pilot came out, like a rough raw version of the pilot came out in like late 1998 or something like that, and then the first episode came out in early mid 1999. So early mid 1999, the pilot aired again mostly in like early mid 1999. And that's where the first episode of the pilot started airing in like early mid 1999, and that's where the first season started. And basically, the first season aired right around 1999 through 2000, and that's kind of the first season of SpongeBob. And then after that, it just became hits. So after pretty much late 90s, early 2000s, that's where SpongeBob became a hit. That's where SpongeBob became a big thing. Yeah, that's where SpongeBob became a big thing. It just became popular with kids and adults. And this is kind of like my generation's show. This is kind of like my generation that kind of was nostalgic and grew up with this show. It was a big hit in the early to late 90s. It was a big hit in the late 90s and early 2000s. You can kind of say SpongeBob is like Nickelodeon's Mickey Mouse, basically. That's kind of what SpongeBob is. SpongeBob is like the semi-mascot from Nickelodeon. Besides Nickelodeon, well, but here's the thing about Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is just a mess right now, but I digress. But that's another topic for another day. But, I gotta tell you, what is the show about? Well, it's just a comedy show, but it's just kind of this very clever and hilarious show, and it's just about like a talking sponge named SpongeBob, voiced by Tom Kenny, who's a fried cook. It's just about him and his friends and his shenanigans. It's just the everyday life of SpongeBob, and it's about where SpongeBob, the talking sponge, he's a fried cook at the Krusty Krab, and you just kind of go about his daily life. You meet his friends Pink Patrick, you meet like Patrick Star, and all that stuff. Who's from other shows. and you see his, and it's just shenanigans about his friends. It's just a hilarious show. And the first episode is basically about SpongeBob just getting his job at the Krusty Krab, and it's a great episode of just how he kind of saved, Mr. Krabs and Squidward from the Krusty Krab. The rest, all the other episodes, just like introduction to characters. He had like introduced the Plankton. He's like kind of the antagonist. He's kind of just he's a comic relief / evil antagonist. Well, what I see is comic relief, kind of. And you get all sorts of like plot threads. Okay, kind of, and you get all the stereotypical nice characters. You get Squidward. Squidward's the bitchy, grumpy neighbor, but means well in the end of the day. But Squidward's the most relatable character. And you get the you get the cheapskate boss, Mr. Krabs, voiced by Tom Clancy. Yeah, Clancy Brown, his name is. But you know what? But in the early seasons of SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs actually had a heart. Mr. Krabs had a soul, and he was voiced by Clancy Brown, really underrated voice actor and actor in general. Always love his work. Always love his stuff. So on and so forth. And other than that, I think Plank's voiced by Mr. T. Lawrence, who's like a producer and writer of this show. I'll go on, and it's just such an amazing show. So many episodes, just so many like really nice, cool episodes of this series. When I rewatched this show and when I did research for this show, I gotta tell you, it's really fascinating. And I just scratched the surface. And when you look at behind the scenes of this show and the past creators of this show, it's really fascinating. So let me start with this. So I did mention that Steven Hillenburg, he first worked on Rocko's Modern Life. So yes, and the same voice actors from SpongeBob also voiced the same characters in Rocko's Modern Life. So so you can kind of say Rocko's Modern Life is kind of the precursor to SpongeBob of where Steven Hillenburg worked on, because you can also say and what's interesting is the same voice actors for SpongeBob, like the same voice actors that voiced the characters in SpongeBob also voiced some of the same characters. I'm sorry, not the same characters, but also voice kind of the different. Also voice kind of those same character. Also voice also voice the characters of Rocko's Modern Life, which is interesting. The main, those main characters. Same characters, kind of okay. More like those main characters in that show. That's really fascinating. I mean, for example, and one more thing I forgot to mention. So, Rocko's Modern Life, well, it had two creators. It had Steven Hillenburg and Joe Murray. And Joe Murray went on to do Camp Lanslow, if you remember that show. And Steven Hillenburg, of course, went on to do SpongeBob for Nickelodeon. And, it's fascinating because these are two people with, like, the same humor and same adult-oriented humor. I mean, that's incredible on its own. Okay, let me back up for a minute. I'm getting a little excited. I'm getting a little passionate for this. So, what's really fascinating here is that, so Joe Murray and Steven Hillenburg, they were both the creators of Rocko's Modern Life. They were both co-creators of that show, basically. They worked together on that show. And what's fascinating is when they split, because that show was a precursor for SpongeBob. There's no doubt that show was a precursor to SpongeBob. Okay, and what's interesting is, Steven Hillenburg, they both split, and Steven Hillenburg went to, Nickelodeon to do SpongeBob, went to Nickelodeon, and Joe Murray went to Cartoon Network to do Camp Lanslow. And what's interesting is you can just kind of see the same humor and adult kind of oriented, adult innuendo jokes in there, the adult humor in there, adult jokes. So, and what's funny, when you watch Camp Lanslow and SpongeBob, they have the same kind of subtle or similar subtle adult humor in those shows. And it just has that extreme, when you watch SpongeBob and Camp Lanslow, they have the same kind of, like, crazy, over-the-top humor. They have the, when you watch SpongeBob and when you watch SpongeBob and Camp Lanslow, they have, like, similar kind of, like, crazy rage, over-the-top humor. Whether it's adult humor, whether it's like subtle adult jokes, or just crazy, or just crazy madness, just rage, like madness, chaos humor going on, insane just stuff humor going on, and crazy stuff, like crazy bizarre stuff, just bizarre stuff going on, similar concepts, similar kind of humor, so that's fascinating on itself. And one more thing about that is, now speaking of SpongeBob now, what's interesting is Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, I did not know this. He voiced Heifer Wolf, who was like the Patrick Harrow in Rocko's Modern Life. Because Rocko's like the SpongeBob type. Big Head, the Frog. I mean, if you watch Rocko's Modern Life, you know what I mean. Because I grew up with that show too. I did grow up with that show too. I have fond memories of that show. But really good underrated show. One of Nickelodeon's best shows, but because with Rocko's Modern Life, Rocko's Modern Life, that was a show I grew up with too. Really great, really underrated show, Rocko's Modern Life. Another good gem. One of the last few, probably one of the last few good Nickelodeon shows I made before Nickelodeon went to shit. But I digress. But what's so interesting is it's just the characters are so just the character are like the character archetypes are so similar in Rocko's Modern Life if you compare it to SpongeBob, because for example, Rocko is like the kind of the similar SpongeBob character, but just different manners and different expressions. Lotus and Heifer is just basically the Patrick character. I mean, he literally is the Patrick character archetype character. Heifer is literally the Patrick archetype character. And Heifer is voiced by Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob. Wow, okay, I did not know that. And Filbert, okay, I did knew. Now he's voiced by Mr. Lawrence, who voiced Plankton. Now, okay, I did know he was voiced by Mr. Lawrence, but now Filbert, the other friend character from Rocko. Now Filbert was voiced by Mr. Lawrence, which yeah, I did knew he was voiced by Mr. Lawrence because I recognized it was familiar. He was Mr. Lawrence voiced Plankton, voice of Plankton. So I recognize his voice, but yeah, he voices Mr. Lawrence. He voices Filbert, the other Rocko's friend character. So yeah, Mr. Lawrence voices Filbert, and all these other characters, and and Ed Bighead is like a squared archetype. You see, if you watch Rocko, you see like the angry neighbor character. If you see like Rocko, you know what I mean. And you have like Ed Bighead, who's just a squared archetype. He's just another angry neighbor archetype, for comic relief. Just an angry neighbor for comic relief, the bitchy neighbor, if you know what I mean. But the difference is Square was more relatable and somewhat likable. Here, this he's just a semi-antagonist and an asshole. It's just the difference is it's just the angry, bitchy, grumpy character. But the difference between SpongeBob and Rocko is Squidward is at least relatable in SpongeBob. Like, they at least make Squidward somewhat relatable, and maybe likable depends, but somewhat likable. In the early seasons, at least. Depending which season of SpongeBob you watch, but in the early season. Depending which season of SpongeBob, at least. But in Rocko, Mr. Bighead, but here, he's just an asshole. Like, in Rocko, Mr. Bighead's character, he's just an asshole. They just make him a semi-antagonist of the show. They just make him a semi-antagonist of that show. But other than that, it's just really fascinating if you compare them. A really fascinating, kind of avenue to Rocko to SpongeBob, Steven Hillenburg. So, kind of fascinating comparison. Really fascinating avenue to Rocko to SpongeBob, of Steven Hillenburg. So, really fascinating comparison, But, another interesting thing is, like I said, you get Sandy, you get Pearl, Mr. Krabs' daughter, and all that stuff. I forgot to mention Gary. Get Gary the Snail. He's cute and hilarious. Gary the Snail is just, relatable in the show. He's hilarious and relatable in the show, and all that stuff. So that's kind of the main cast of characters. But the voice cast, oh my god, the voice cast. Now, of course, I found, Bill Fagerman voices Patrick, which he's from Coach. I recognize him from Coach. So Tom Kenny Tom Kenny, of course, the legendary voice actor for many things, he voiced Spyro the Dragon. He voices Tom Kenny, he voiced Spyro the Dragon in the early PS1 games. Tom Kenny also voiced the Ice King from Adventure Time. Very famous voice actor. Bill Fagerbach he voices Patrick Star, and he actually is from Coach, and he actually did other shows. He did Coach, which is interesting. Mr. Lawrence, he voices Plankton and Larry. He voices a lot of additional characters, but he's known for voicing Plankton. So Mr. Lawrence, who's like a co-producer, I think he's also a co-writer of the series. And Mr. Lawrence voices Plankton. He voices Plankton and Larry the Lobster. Wow, no other. And he does the My Leg guy. He does voice the My Leg guy. The My Leg guy. And Clancy Brown voices Mr. Krabs. I gotta tell you, what's really interesting is so Clancy Brown voices Mr. Krabs, and I gotta tell you, he's like a really underrated and really good voice. He's a legendary voice actor, but also actor on screen. And he actually is he's actually also a well-known character actor too on screen too. So what's really interesting is Clancy Brown, he voices he actually voices Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series, in the 90s. He voices Neo Cortex in the Crash Bandicoot Uka. Yeah, that's right. He voices Clancy Brown. He also voices Neo Cortex in Uka from the early PS1 Crash Bandicoot games. Interesting. And some of the PS2 games too. Interesting, fascinating. Oh, and I think he's the dad. I recognize him as Zombie Dad, Zombie Sheriff, and Pet Sematary 2. And I think he's also the villain in the first Highlander movie. He's the villain of the first Highlander movie. I mean, oh my god. He's in Pet Sematary 2, Highlander. I mean, this guy's in a lot of stuff. Really, he's in Starship Troopers. He's the, commander in that. He's the captain in that show. I think he's in, like, Heartbreak. I think he's in the show. Yeah, he's in the Shawshank Redemption, where he's one of the kind of the evil guards in that movie. He's in a lot of stuff. I mean, I gotta tell you, he's in a lot of stuff. Really underrated character actor, but also a very legendary. But he's also a very legendary voice actor. And the guy who voices Squidward, I actually recognize him, or I know his work. And the guy that voices Squidward, yeah, I actually recognize him. I actually recognize his work. Yeah, Roger Bumpass voices Squidward. Yeah, Roger Bumpass voices Squidward, and he actually, I know him as, he's the dad from Invader Zim. He's Dib's dad. He voices Dib's dad from Invader Zim. Okay, I recognize that guy. Yeah, he voices that character. He's also in Carlos San Diego. He's the announcer from Where's Carlos San Diego. Yeah, he's that guy. So he's in a lot of stuff back in the day. Carolyn Lauren, okay, Jill Talley voices Karen the computer. Okay, so Mary Jo Catlett, yeah, so she voices Mrs. Puff, who's like SpongeBob's school boating teacher. And I recognize her as like the voice of Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus. So she voices Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, and he's also he's in so many live action films too. And, Lauren Ann. Yeah, Lauren Ann voices Pearl, Pearl, Mr. Krabs' daughter. And I know her as, like, so she's, like, in Toy Story. Yeah, she's the female cowgirl in Toy Story, I believe. I think she's in SWAT Cats Raggle Squad. Okay, if you know what it's another show I saw on Cartoon Network and Boomerang. It's called SWAT Cats Raggle Squadron, and she's one of the female, but she's like the, police detective's daughter who, is also like a police SWAT member. If you watch that show, you will know what I mean. Really underrated show. So she's a very underrated, I gotta tell you, she's actually an underrated voice actor. She did a lot of stuff back in the day. And Carolyn Lawrence voices Sandy Cheeks, and, I didn't know this when I found out, because I saw this show called Moral Oral. You know the show Moral Oral? Yeah, so, she voices Oral from Moral Oral. You let that sink in. So, the same actress that voices Sandy Cheeks, she also voices Moral Oral, from the show Moral Oral. Yeah, Oral, he voices Moral Oral. She voices Oral from Moral Oral. And I think she voices Jimmy Neutron. No, yeah, I recognize it. Yeah, she also voices Jimmy Neutron from Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. So, yeah, a lot of talent, this is a really underrated voice cast, if you ask me. Like, a lot of talented people here work on this show, my goodness. Now, yeah, Paul Tibbitt is Doodle Bob. Okay, yeah, Paul Tibbitt, who's like the co-creator. Now, if you know who Paul Tibbitt is, he's like the... Oh, goodness, he's the... kind of the co-producer, co-writer of that show, SpongeBob. He later took over the show at one point. This is so crazy. This is, I think, like the same actors from Jeffrey Tambor's King Neptune. Okay, Mark Hamill is Moth, and... You got a lot of... Can I just say, you got a lot of fucking celebrities. Like, you got Mark Hamill as, like, Moth, who's in, like, one episode of SpongeBob, and he's gonna voice, like, the new Flying Dutchman from the new SpongeBob movie. And you got, like, Brian Murray, who's also Bill Murray's older brother. So Brian Murray is actually Bill Murray's older brother, and he's a very well-known character actor. Now, Brian Murray, he voices the Flying Dutchman in the show. Yeah, so Brian Murray voices the Flying Dutchman in the show. He also voices Captain Knuckles, Knuckles and Flapjack. So he's in a lot of stuff, and he's actually an underrated character actor. I think he's like, oh god, I think he's in like he plays Jack Ruby in JFK. He plays the mayor in Groundhog Day. So he's in a lot of films. He's a very underrated character actor. Works with his brother mostly. Very underrated character actor too. I mean, Jesus Christ, a lot of talent. I got a lot of people here. Carl, the guy. Okay, Carl. He voices Sheen, and yeah, there's Rocco and Sheen. Okay. You got Thomas Wilson. Holy shit! You know, okay, now I recognize his voice more. I recognize his voice more as like, oh, when I watch this show. But yeah. So Thomas Wilson, he voices Flats and other additional characters. He voices he voices Flats and so yeah. You got like Thomas Wilson who plays Biff from Back to the Future. You got Biff from Back to the Future voicing SpongeBob characters. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So Thomas Wilson, who's also from April Fool's Day. If you don't know, he's in a slasher film that I like called April Fool's Day. Really underrated film. Really cool film with Amy Steele in it. Check it out. Really underrated film. But you got Thomas Wilson who voices Flats in who voices the Flats in that season 3 episode of SpongeBob that I actually had fun with. So you got a lot of celebrities. I mean, I gotta fucking tell you, you got a lot of celebrities voice talent here. Okay, so you got Ernest Borgnine, Brian Doyle. Okay, yeah, Michael McKean. Wow. Okay, a lot of actors and celebrities in this show. Okay, John Wright Davis. Holy shit! I don't know what character he plays, but you got like John Wright Davis. Davis is in this series. What the hell? I think he voices. No, I don't think he either voices Neptune in the show version. No, somebody else does. Or he voices the other. I don't know, but he voices some character. But I definitely recognize his voice in the show. And you even got like, God, holy shit, you got like, you got like Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway, who were both friends in real life, and they worked on like they started in like a lot of shows back in the day in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, so we got like, and then it was Mermaid and Barnacle Boy. But yeah, you got like Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway. They both voice Mermaid and Barnacle Boy, and they were in the shows in like 50s and 60s shows back in the day. They worked together on a lot of stuff. They were a comedic duo back in the day. They were, I think, they were friends in real life. And I recognize Ernest Borgnine. He voices Carface in All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, 3. I think he's in like he's a taxi driver in Escape from New York. He's in a lot of films. I think he's in he's like one of the generals in the Dirty Dozen. God, I think he's like the cowboy. He's like in the Wild Bunch. He's in a lot of films. So you got a lot of legendary actors I mean, Jesus Christ, you got a lot of legendary actors and celebrities in this show. Oh my goodness. So I mean, like I said, you got like Johnny Depp voicing a surfer character. I think you got like Johnny Depp in one special episode voicing one surfer character. So like I said, you got a lot of big voice cast here. Okay, D. Bradley Baker. So if you don't know who D. Bradley Baker is, yeah, he's another famous voice actor. He did like, oh god, I think he's in like Toy Story. He's in like voices a character in Toy Story. I think he like voices Obi-Wan in the Dave Filoni Clone Wars series, and many stuff like that. And he voices Squilliam. So D. Bradley Baker. He voices Squilliam Fancy Son in this series. Interesting. Okay, and you got Stephen Hillenburg himself that voices Potty the parrot. You got you got Stephen Hillenburg voicing Potty the parrot. Wow, I wasn't sure, but I'm glad I know that for sure now. And of course, got Tom Kennedy playing SpongeBob and Patty. So what's funny is you got Tom Kennedy playing Patch the Pirate, but he also voices SpongeBob. And Patch the Pirate's like an obsessed SpongeBob fan, and he come to find, and he's just playing himself. It's hilarious. Yeah, Patch the Pirate, who's an obsessed SpongeBob fan, but he also plays SpongeBob. It's a hilarious gimmick. It's a goofy concept, and that's what I love about it. But I think that's the kind of the cast. That's the rest of the cast. But I gotta tell you, it's really underrated. Really underrated. Really fascinating. Really fascinating cast in this series. But like I said, you got a lot of nice episodes in this series. I like the episode Fun. Unfriendly Go. Okay, yeah, I got like Reef Blower, Teeth. Okay, got Bubble Stand, Rip Pants, Jellyfish and Plankton. And Plankton's the episode where they introduced Plankton. That's the episode where they introduced Plankton. You got Mermaid. You got Pizza Delivery. Episode Pizza Delivery. Where SpongeBob and Squid deliver a pizza for the first time, even though they serve patties. Even though they don't serve pizza, but they serve patties instead. You got Mermaid Man, you got Boating School, where SpongeBob cannot get the gimmick is SpongeBob can never get his driver's license in boating school. He's almost successful at it, but he's so nervous and so bad at driving, he's just doomed to fail. It's like he's never meant to get his driver's license, you know? And you got, Texas. Oh god, Sandy gets pissed off about, SpongeBob Patrick making fun of her of Texas. Rock Bottom, where SpongeBob is at, like, the rock bottom area. Fascinating. I like that episode. So many memorable episodes. Oh my god. Employee of the month. You know, where SpongeBob and Squidward fight for being. I know it's hilarious. It's funny where SpongeBob and Squidward fight to be like, who's gonna be the employee of the month this time? Oh, hilarious! I love that episode. And Hall Monitor. Oh my god, I love Hall Monitor. As far as the Hall Monitor, and he stops the and it's like, oh, yeah, it's just SpongeBob, and it's hilarious where SpongeBob, oh my god, oh my god, I'm the maniac that steals or sleeps at, walks at night. It's been a while I watched this episode, forgive me. Been a while I watched this episode, forgive me. And you come to find out, Mrs. Puff did kind of send him up to be the Hall Monitor, and then you find out, like, you know, but Mrs. Puff reveals that she's the one that kind of arranged SpongeBob to be the Hall Monitor, and she gets arrested instead of SpongeBob, but, you know, but that's the hilarious part about that. And it's almost like, you know, people talk about Squidward torture porn, but nobody talks about Mrs. Puff torture porn. You know, where, like, you know, Squidward gets karma and he gets tortured, but like, I think it's a little unreal to talk about how much Mrs. Puff gets tortured and gets karma a lot. But I'll go on about that. Oh, and my other favorite episode is, here's another episode I like. I Was a Teenage Gary. Okay, I Was a Teenage Gary. It's like it's a spoof on I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and it's about Gary gets sick, and SpongeBob goes jellyfishing, and he leaves Squidward to kind of take care of Gary. But because of Squidward just being lazy and just being a hack, he kind of fails of taking care of Gary and his food. Because Squidward's just a kind of a fucking it's just a freaking hack and just a narcissist bitch that just wants to bathe. He just is a narcissist bitch that just wants to bathe with the sun. And then he finds out that SpongeBob comes back from his jellyfish trip. He got done with that, and he's back home from that. And then you find out that he's got done with his jellyfish trip. And then you find out he got back home from his jellyfishing trip. And then Squidward freaks out, and he failed to feed Gary. He got Gary sick, and then then SpongeBob finds out, and then he has to call a doctor, and Squidward tries to cover up his mess, which is hilarious. I think he eats all the fucking food. It's hilarious. Squidward tries to cover up and clean up his mess, and I like how when Squidward comes in, like, Squidward just eats all the fucking food. He's like big and chubby, fat, and eats food. He fucking like chogs that food in his mouth. He's like really big, fat, and chubby there. And then he's back to normal after that. And then after he eats it up, he's back to normal after that. Like I said, what's really interesting is I like it how but then Gary bites SpongeBob, and then SpongeBob's snail, and then SpongeBob bites Squidward, and he turns into a snail, and it's like, again, it's a spoof on I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and it's where SpongeBob turns into like a snail, and then Gary bites SpongeBob, and he turns into a snail, and then SpongeBob bites Squidward, and then Squidward turns into a snail, and they all sing. So a hilarious episode, I like it. They all turn into snails, and they sing at the end. Oh my god, hilarious. 3B129. Oh my god, 3B129, my favorite. You know the episode Future. You know the episode where Squidward goes in the past and future, where he goes to like BC, and then he goes into like the futuristic robots, and SpongeBob he meets like Cave and SpongeBob, and then he later meets like robot clone SpongeBob. It's hilarious. I love it. I am SpongeTron. You know, very quotable memorable lines like I am SpongeBob or future. You know, something like that. Or fun, like F is for friends and you. No, I love the F is for friends and you and me. So a lot of memorable friends, you and me. A lot of memorable songs. A lot of quotable lines. Yeah, a lot of quotable lines. Rock Texas. April Fools. Oh my god, April Fools. Or Squidward's a bitch. Okay, so it's like, well, there's like one episode where, you know, SpongeBob likes pulling pranks, well, okay, not pranks, but he loves saying, not like he's pulling pranks, like, he just likes saying April Fools or whatever, and Squidward is just being an asshole, but then Squidward gets his comeuppance later, and then learns his lesson, and then has the moral lesson at the end, and then April Fools him back and make fun of him at the end. And the Valentine's Day episode is hilarious because it's just about SpongeBob gets a Valentine, everyone gets a Valentine, but Patrick gets just for him not getting a Valentine. Everyone gets a Valentine, but not Patrick. But then SpongeBob was trying to surprise and give SpongeBob was trying to surprise and give Patrick a Valentine, but Patrick got impatient and just I like how Patrick gets impatient and he freaks out like a child. But I just really it's an episode no one talks about, and I'm just like where Patrick freaks out. The hooky, oh my god, the hooky where SpongeBob hooks, where SpongeBob and Patrick like play around hooks, and they get their pants ripped. They turn it into like almost seafood, and like it's more like their pants gets ripped away. Hooks, and I love how Mr. Krabs says hooks, the hooks are back, or something like that. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2, Continuing of his Revenge. Get Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2, more shenanigans of their adventures, or just SpongeBob is that obsessed fan of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and it's just a fan being just, having fun. It's just this obsessed fan of Barnacle Boy. And it's just SpongeBob being a fanboy, just kind of, playing around with his idols, I like to say. Karate Choppers, Sleepy Time, The Paper is good. Jellyfish Jam is fun. Okay. Jellyfish Jam, where it's like just it's about SpongeBob jellyfish and he needs the jam. It's just I just like how it's like about they force Squidward the jellyfish, and then Squidward kind of gets his comeuppance by being zapped by a jellyfish, and then he gets zapped by like the king jellyfish. Oh my god. Like, Squidward's like jellyfish, trying to jellyfish, he gets zapped by jellyfish. He doesn't want to, but they make him, just want a jellyfish to make him jellyfish, just want jellyfish to make him jellyfish. And I like how Squidward gets zapped by the king jellyfish. Opposite Day, it's about opposites, and arg is like, opposites like about opposites, Walking Small is like them walking around small, it's like them walking around small. Unfriendly Ghost is like kind of that Halloween episode, and I think that's where they find it. Yeah, so Unfriendly Ghost, yeah, I think that's the Halloween episode where like the Flying Dutchman appears. It's like a nice, cool episode where like the Flying Dutchman appears and SpongeBob tries to scare people. It's like the Halloween episode where SpongeBob tries to scare people, and you got like Brian Murray voicing the Flying Dutchman. It's where the Flying Dutchman first appears. That's really a cool episode. That's a cool episode. I like this. That's fun. That's nice. That's a nice episode. Yeah, that's a nice episode. And my favorite, I think my last favorite is it gets so many good ones. Org, oh my god, the pirate. Org is like the pirate. It's like the treasure hunting episode. Oh my god. And Org is like the treasure hunting episode. I think the Flying Dutchman voice. I think like Brian Doyle Murray voices the Flying Dutchman here. Brian voices the Flying Dutchman here, of course. The Flying Dutchman appears in this episode, by the way. And like I said, I just like how it's a treasure episode and they're pirates and Mr. Krabs again. He just wants to go. And it's just a boring. It's crazy. It's just. They found actual treasures. Okay, so in that episode, they're playing like a treasure chest board game, but Mr. Crab really wants to believe he just wants to find gold, and you find out it's just a board game they're using as a map to find gold. But then you find out like Mr. Krabs does find the real gold treasure of the treasure map, and I just like how deranged and crazy they're just as like. Okay, so Patrick and SpongeBob, Patrick and SpongeBob, they dress up as pirates, and I like how Mr. Krabs, he dresses as a pirate, and I just like it how he's just deranged and crazy. I just like how crazy he is. I just like how deranged he is in this episode. I just like how crazy he is. So I will go on. Just many great classics. Oh my god. Just many hilarious good classics. I mean, most good. Okay, Neptune Spatula. Just a lot of like, you see like King Neptune in this episode. Neptune Spatula, which is like where you see like, we get introduced to King Neptune in this episode. Muscle Bob. SpongeBob gets. Muscle Bob. Pants, where you see Larry Lobster in this episode. Bill Mutz. Like SpongeBob building muscle, all that stuff. Pickles, like you get like Bubble Bass. That's the Rip Pants thing. Neighbors. Squeaky Boots. Oh my god, where are those? You get like Pickles, where like that's where you get introduced to Bubble Bass. Bubble Bass is like a scam artist, and SpongeBob has a duel with him, and SpongeBob. It's like a food. I don't know. It's funny. It's like SpongeBob is having like a food duel with Bubble Bass. Bubble Bass, he's like he's like a con artist, and he lies about he's like pretend, and he's like a con artist with Pickles, and he pretends to eat, and he kind of, oh god, he like kind of pretends to eat pickles. It's weird, like he's a con artist, and he steals pickles. No, like I don't know, like, he fakes eating pickles, or more like he steals pickles, and he's a con artist. And I just like how it's an episode where SpongeBob has like a food duel or contest with like Bubble Bass or something. And I like it how something. And I like it how this is my favorite. Squeaky Boots. I like the episode Squeaky Boots where SpongeBob has squeaky boots and Mr. Krabs just cry. Oh my god, just SpongeBob has like just these squeaky ass loud boots, and Mr. Krabs can't stand it, and he just destroy. And I like how I just like how Mr. Krabs finds any way to destroy those boots, and it's just about Krabs just kind of losing his mind over fucking boots. And just wants SpongeBob just to wear normal shoes besides boots. And it's just I just like how crazy it goes in this episode. And it's just a really hilarious episode. And look, I would go on. I highly recommend this series. I mean, that's kind of all I gotta say. Look, I can just talk forever about this show. Look, I can just talk forever about this show. Okay, it's just such a classic. It's definitely a classic. I would give the series an 8 out of 10. I think. But overall, guys, other than that, I highly recommend SpongeBob SquarePants. Those are my thoughts on SpongeBob SquarePants, and that's how I feel. And those are my thoughts on the first season of SpongeBob SpongeBob Squarepants, you know. And but other than that, yeah. So and like I said, and generally, and that's kind of all I gotta say. I can talk about the show all day. And look, I can talk about the show all day, and that's kind of all I gotta say about this show right now. And like, look, so overall, guys, I give the first season of SpongeBob Squarepants. And so overall, guys, I give the first season of overall, guys, I give the first season of SpongeBob Squarepants an 8 out of 10. And I think it deserves an 8 out of 10. Overall, guys, that's my thoughts on the first season of SpongeBob Squarepants. And overall, guys, that's all I gotta say about the first season of SpongeBob Squarepants. And that's kind of it right now. So, yeah, that's it. That's kind of all I have for you right now. So, that's kind of all I gotta say right now. I don't think I have any more to say. So right now, I'm gonna wrap it up now. So overall, guys, that's all I gotta say, guys. And that's all I have for you today, guys. And overall, guys, I'm Retro Critic, and I'm out. And I'll see you guys later. And I'll see you guys next time. And you know, hey, and guys, I'll see you around. And peace out, and bye.